It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
McCaig.
Here.
Wirtz. Johnson.
Here.
Rust.
Here.
Trent. Here. Griffin. Ware.
Here.
Campbell.
Like to do the pledge of allegiance, please. Now is the time for public comment. Do we wish to have anybody address the board? The format for the board is that everyone's given 3 minutes to address the board. Is there any public comments? Seeing no public comment, I'd like to move on.
All right, can we get the IT departmental transformation update, Dr. Tretzka?
Absolutely. So Ron will come up and share some of that, but again, as we just heard in our previous session, there's been a lot of work that's gone in really prior to August, but in August we initiated a data and information technology review, and we received a pretty comprehensive report that's been shared with the board. So I've asked Ron to come and just kind of highlight some of those key initiatives, and of course today is really our ask of the board in terms of the first step in sort of beginning that journey. So Ron, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, so I'm excited to be here to talk about the Lewis and Clark Digital Transformation Initiative. And digital transformation means a lot of different things to different people. So I wanted to share a definition that I found on EDUCAUSE, which is, I think, one of the best definitions I found. So they describe it as, in the context of sweeping social, economic, technological, and demographic changes, digital transformation is a series of deep and coordinated culture, workforce, and technology shifts that enable new educational and operating models and transforms an institution's operations, strategic directions, and value propositions. So the first step in this digital transformation was working with the IT consulting group to prepare an IT and data assessment. The report was 23 pages long, and I believe it has been shared with the board. But I want to just give a very quick overview of the top 5 recommendations that was included in that report. So the first one was vision. To create a digital transformation plan supported by the executive team. And this plan would include things like eliminating manual paper processes, driving data-informed decisions, creating the dashboards, and just anything and everything that we can think of that will improve IT and data operations at Lewis and Clark. 2 is leadership, creating an IT leadership position to be on the executive team, which will allow that person to work directly with the executive team to align IT with the key directions and the college's mission. Resources, so IT needs additional resources to complete projects and make progress on the vision of IT. That includes potentially creating positions, using contractual services, or reducing the amount of services that we support, maybe a combination of any or all of those 3 things. And currently, when the report was written, I believe it stated there was 130 some odd projects. We're actually up to about 146 now, because unfortunately, the way it is right now, we complete 1, we add another 2. So we just don't have the resources currently, so part of this vision is to address that. Recommendation number 4 is training. So one aspect of this is training or upskilling IT employees, but additionally offering and creating a framework for training for the entire team, so all employees. Because currently there's no framework, it's kind of an ad hoc situation. So if we can provide trainings to people where they can access it on the fly whenever they need it, then that would increase efficiency. Additionally, the recommendation was to have senior IT attend conferences to keep up with trends and keep up with current knowledge and things what's going on in the IT world. And the third one is documentation. We need documentation on processes and everything that's happening in an IT world needs to keep it, like I said, some framework or whatever, so it's easily accessible. And the final one is data and IT governance. So this includes prioritization of projects, creating a data governance committee, increasing transparency, and ensuring IT is included in IT decisions. And I want to say, we have come a long way in the last few years. We've accomplished a lot, but there's a long road ahead. There's a lot that we need to do, but I'm very excited about the future of technology and IT and data at Lewis and Clark. The next step is approving the CDTO position, which is on the agenda for tonight, and I thank you for your consideration in approving that next step.
Thank you, Ron.
Is there any questions?
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Jackson, can you give us the enrollment update, please?
Good evening. Actually, I'm here to introduce our new Director of Admissions and Enrollment Manager, Amir. And Amir is actually going to give us the enrollment update. He's done a great job of coming in, finding the numbers for our new students. So he's going to give an update on our new students and our prospects, and also current students. So I'll turn it over to Amir.
Good evening, Board. My name is Amir Chaudhry, and I'm very, very excited to be here. It's been a month, and I thank you very much for giving me opportunity to serve the students here in college, and I really appreciate Dr. T also giving me opportunity to not only to serve students, but also serve the community. I came from Michigan, so my expertise always been mostly on the recruitment and student retention as well. So my focus will be here to dive into the data and see where we need to focus, because there's a lot of data that's available. So from last 1 month, I'm looking into the opportunity, and I've seen there's a lot of places we can focus to improve the new students population here. Of course, the main focus would be retention, same time. And so far, let me give you the first update, then I'll talk about a little bit more about what we are going to do moving forward to improve the recruitment efforts. As of today, I'm very pleased to announce that we started off with a good start, not only for the current students for the spring 2024, not only for the new students, but also for the current student. As of today, the total students we so far registered for the spring 2024 is 729, compared to 454 last spring, which is 61% increase. Same enrollment credit hours is 8,131 compared to 5,221 last year's spring. And that's about 53% increase. Nelson enrolled students count is 55 compared to 28 last year, which is 96% increase. Same as the credit hours. That campus is 363 compared to 233 compared to last spring, which is 56% increase. Full-time enrolled students is 351 compared to 265 last year in spring, which is 32% increase. Part-time enrolled students also 378 compared to 189 last spring, which is about 100% increase. And part-time enrolled credits also is 2,884 compared to 1,261 last spring, which is 128% increase. So we started off a very good start for the spring 2024 for the current student. And at the same time, we are focusing on increasing the new enrollment as well. I'm going to give you an update. As of today, my focus has been from the last 1 month to not only for overall new student effort is to focusing on how many inquiries are coming in, how many students are inquiring about the college, and how many admissions so far we have for the college, and also how many have registered so far since we opened the registration last week. So as of today, we have for the spring 479 inquiries we have received for the spring 2024 compared to 415, which is 15% increase compared to last year. So people are inquiring more now, thanks for our marketing department. So they are inquiring more now compared to last year. We also admitted 265 students so far, and compared to 258, which is about 3% increase compared to last year. And also the registration we just opened last week, and we have registered so far 48 students in 1 week, so, and which is increase about 118% compared to last year. So we are on the right track. We started off on the right momentum, and we want to continue to build this momentum so we'll have a not only strong current student population, retain more students, and also to bring more focusing on. We're taking a lot of initiatives starting from last couple of weeks, reaching out to them directly to the inquiry student, reaching out personally, sending an email, reaching out by telephones, calls, and see how can we help them. Same way students who admitted, so we are focusing on to reaching out to those individuals to make sure they're registering the classes early so they can have a better schedule. We're reaching out to the high school. I personally spoke to Alton High School last week, about 454 seniors, and directly to them and give them a history of the college and ask them the best route to start their educational journey, to promote our college. And the same way I'm intent to reaching out to the high school senior in the next couple of weeks and see if we can convince them to start their journey right from here instead of going to the 4 years, because in that way they will save a lot of money. I believe in community colleges because the reason why, always believe, because my base came from the community college. I was not a traditional student, I was dropout, but whatever I have achieved throughout this 25 last years, it's because of the community college. So I believe they serve the community, they serve our students with the same way, with the one-on-one attention. So I'm very, very honored to be part of this community college. And I thank you for that because you guys have given me opportunity. Same way, I'm moving forward. Like I said before, I'm going to be more focusing on the database-driven, lot of more new initiative based on the data. Define the student population first. What do we call traditional student? What we call adult student? How are we going to reach out to the adult population? How we define dual credit students? So putting those definitions in place here, and then see where we are at this point and focus where we need to focus. Putting the resources where we need to focus. So I have a lot of vision to increase the new recruitment enrollments here, recruitment efforts here, and with the help of wonderful people here, wonderful senior leadership team, plus all the other leaders, and I'm sure we can accomplish a lot of things in months to come. And I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Amir. And Amir will also be co-leading Key Direction 1 now, which is focused on enrollment and retention. So looking forward to his leadership, and again, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, and welcome to the team. Next is our budget health update.
Yeah, so I'll provide a few highlights here at this point in time. So local revenues are projected to be slightly under budget this year, and that's primarily due to a higher than expected EAV from Calhoun, which we received post-budget this year. And that's, of course, netted against our CPPRT revenues that are a few $100,000 below budget. State revenues allocations, which were received post-budget, again, are below our budgeted expectations by roughly $1.1 million. Tuition and fee revenue at this early point in the year is projected to possibly exceed budget by around $275,000. Salaries and benefits, as we know, make up the largest part of our budget. These components are projected still to be within budget. Overall, this early projection for fiscal year 24 does not indicate any issues or concerns regarding fiscal performance. Another thing which I've highlighted in some of my updates to the board, the executive team is already knee-deep in planning for fiscal year 25. Last year, we started probably really digging in a more formal way in January, February. We're starting that process really late summer, early fall on an annual basis. It allows us to kind of plug in priorities and really kind of weigh where we need to put our resources for the coming year. So everything's looking really on schedule, and just appreciate everyone's savvy leadership and just keeping an eye on budgets and making sure that we're operating within our lane. So thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Traska.
All right, thank you. We ready for the omnibus agenda?
Thank you. The omnibus agenda is presented for a vote. Is there any item that the board would like to be held out and voted separately?
Yeah, I have three items. Item G, item J, and item N.
Ian is in Nancy?
Correct.
Thank you. I'd like to have a motion to approve the omnibus agenda minus G, J, and N. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Please call the roll.
McCaig?
Yes.
Campbell? Trent? Ware?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Motion approved. We'd like to have a motion to approve item G.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I have some items to discuss on that, or questions, I guess you'd say. I see that we already, in just a few short months, have a large variance comparing the actual expected versus the budget. And I looked back a year ago, and it was the same situation. This year, we're at variance to the budget 3.7, almost $4 million. Last year, it was $3 million. And I guess I'm asking Mary or somebody, what's driving that? There's got to be.
Yeah, I'll pass that to Mary to talk about, but
How could we be that far off in just 4 months or so?
Well, our budget is made up of the requests from the departments around campus. So our budget figure is made up of those requests. If the expenditures are not hitting yet, I haven't gone through them line to line to find out what is not hitting the accounts. When we have 2 years of actual, or 2 months of actual activity, and we're trying to project 10 months, we're making an awful lot of assumptions. And when we put this report in place, what we were doing then in our method of projecting is to see where we are, where we were last year, 2 months in relation to the whole, and doing that same projection for this year. So I don't feel like projections at 2 months into the current year are anything that I would put a lot of reliability on.
So what, I mean, I guess the question is, what's the question?
That's really your job, Mary, to figure it out. I mean, you know that spending is down during the summer. I guess it tends to be. I think that's true anyway. So you have to account for that in your projections for the full year. You can't just divide by 12 or multiply.
We don't
by 12.
divide by 12. If 10 months into if 2 months into the 12 months last year was 1/3 of the total expenses, then we assumed that 2 months into this year is 1/3 of the total expenditures.
So we look at it year over year.
We have to have a basis for projecting because we're not looking at every encumbrance or every budget item to see what has hit yet and what hasn't. And I will rely on those behind me to
Yeah.
proceed with the budgeted items if they need to do so.
Yeah. I mean, okay, but
Anything else on G?
no, I don't think so.
Call for the roll.
McCaig,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes?
Ware,
Yes.
Campbell, Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Trent.
Motion to, approve item J.
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Yeah, I think it's just really a slight, maybe an oversight, but on the contract with SLU, there's only one, only Jason is the only one that we received a copy of. We didn't receive a copy of the contracts for Alejandra and Bin Bin. I don't know that we necessarily need them. Are they pretty much identical or very similar to Jason's?
Thanks.
That contract, Kevin, was written as a primary contract with Professor Knopp, and these other two folks are support personnel that are working on specific projects with Jason. So consequently, it's sort of an omnibus contract that we approve individual efforts that are involved in that. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but they're not equivalent to or the same as the principal professor involved.
We do have separate contracts for those two people, right?
Those people have contracts with St. Louis University. We have a contract with St. Louis University principally for the primary investigator, which is Jason Knopp, but also for additional expenses and personnel that support the program that we're supporting. So it's, they're employed by St. Louis University, not by us.
Well, yeah, all three of them are SLU employees. I realize that. Yeah. Bin Bin is looks to me like he's 100% to Angarac.
He's 100% postdoc.
Alejandra's 50%?
Correct.
I mean, all of those, I looked through Jason's contract. I mean, all of those terms and conditions of that contract were very pertinent to the other two people. I mean, as far as like not being subject to termination and all kinds of details which are important to protect them. I mean, it just seems, so it's not really an oversight, huh?
No, this is the way the original contract was written and intended to be. And those protections are inherent in their employment with St. Louis University.
So did these two people, Alejandro and Bin Bin, did they assist Jason in the prior years?
They work with his program, which is in support of the National Great Rivers program.
Yeah, and we paid them just like we're going to, right?
Yeah, right.
Or we actually reimburse SLU, right?
We
Isn't that the way
reimburse
it works?
SLU, and their relationship, their direct relationship is with SLU.
Okay, good. I'm satisfied.
Okay.
Call for the roll.
McCaig,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent, Ware,
Yes.
Campbell, Wertz,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
I need a motion to approve N on the omnibus agenda.
Yeah, there's one item there that we're being asked to approve. It's the identifier is 10.24.23-1. It's for $3 million. And the title of it is Applying Urban Nature to Catalyze Racial Equity and STEM Education in St. Louis and Beyond. And I guess my question about that, it seems like, I read the write-up, which didn't provide too much more information. And it seems like it's an effort that's really far afield from what NGREC is all about. And I guess I was looking for some explanation or a little more detail on that.
Hi, my name is Jen Mandeville. I serve as the Interim Director of Education at NGREC, and happy to take your questions about this potential grant opportunity that is being applied for by NGREC staff. Much like the college, we're interested in serving the communities that live along the river. That's the mission statement of NGREC, and a big part of the communities that live along the river are the urban communities in St. Louis, Granite City, East St. Louis. And so when we see an opportunity from NSF to look for funding to bring more minorities into the work of environmental and ecological research, which has traditionally not been very representative, we'd be interested in being a leader in that space and pursuing that opportunity.
But this opportunity is all over in St. Louis. We're an Illinois institution.
Well, NGREC's mission says that we serve the communities along the river, and I think we'd all agree that while the work might happen in St. Louis, those educators, particularly at a school like Harriet Stowe, which has the population of science teachers that we would like to target, those teachers are going to move into the greater St. Louis area and provide excellent learning opportunities and role modeling for our students here in Illinois and hopefully along the river communities. Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Call for the roll.
McCaig,
Yes.
Trent. Campbell. Wertz.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Rust.
Yes.
Ware.
Yes. All right, we're ready to move on to the action items. First up is new policy 412, job position location.
Do you have a motion to approve policy 412?
So move.
Second? Any discussion? Call for the roll.
McCaig,
Yes.
Rust,
Yes.
Trent. Ware,
Yes.
Campbell. Wertz.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Next up is the revised policy 508, prohibiting sex-based misconduct.
Do I have a motion to approve revised policy 508? Motion. Second?
Second.
Discussion? Call for the roll, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Next up is revised policy 510.
Do you have a motion? Motion. Have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just quick, not really a discussion exactly, but, and maybe it's just me, but it's confusing to me when all of these staff policies and board policies are just called policy. I think we should be in the habit of making a distinction there.
I actually agree. I was confused about which was board policy and which was just general policy. I was confused.
No, it's not just you. It's also those of us. We have asked legal counsel for as long as I've been here why they're two separate, and I'm not putting Matt on the spot, but previous legal counsel, current legal counsel, why do we have board policies? We view these as personnel policies, which apply to our personnel. So many of the board policies similarly have impacts on personnel as well, but not necessarily all impacts on personnel. So We would love to find out that answer as well, is what I'm trying to say.
Maybe you could just change the numbering system and say it's, staff policies, it's policy 510S.
Sure,
Or
I mean,
something like that. But I don't know if the attorneys would approve that or not.
I mean, it'll cost us, we know that, so.
Well, it's not the concern necessarily that there's two sets of policy, but it's that we don't know which policy you're actually referring to, because, for example, revised policy 508 prohibiting sex-based misconduct, there is a board
Right.
policy.
There are overlaps between some of the policies as well. So, I mean, it's a fantastic
So we don't know if this is
point.
the board policy or
We
the-
should probably, in our agendas, refer to our personnel policies, personnel policy revision, for example, but, yeah, versus board policy, so it's.
Yeah, it would
it's-
just be real simple, just put those words in there.
Yes, absolutely. So, and Matt, if you can figure that out for free, we'd appreciate that.
No promises on that.
Matt, or Gabe, I have a different question. I realize this is a rare exception, requires the team member to do remote only, but I'm just curious, what type of expenses would there be?
So the Illinois Wage Payment and Collection Act requires, in situations where an employer requires someone to work remotely. So this isn't, somebody who voluntarily, myself, I choose to work 1 day per week on average remotely. I would not be applicable. So we have several folks in NGREC who work out in the field significantly. Those are our primary positions. Land conservation specialists who are out working with landowners, primarily not in an office. They use a personal cell phone often, or potentially internet usage on that phone, or internet usage on a personal laptop on rare occasions. Those expenses under the Illinois Wage Payment and Collection Act, we have to reimburse at what the law says under a reasonable level of expense.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
So does that mean it's at a set rate, or it's whatever the employee is actually paying for that
Yeah, the
expense?
legislature often makes it very vague to say, what a reasonable expense is. So we, as the employer, do decide what that reasonable expense is, and working with legal counsel on this one and looking at what other colleges, other institutions do, what we're looking at doing for those folks who substantially work on a full-time basis at $25 a month for reimbursement for cell phone and or internet, for example. Those are going to be the primary expenses that we'd have to reimburse for.
Thank you.
Sure.
Call for the roll, please.
McCaig?
Yes.
Trent? Ware?
Yes.
Campbell? Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson? Rust?
Yes.
All right, revision of board policy 701.
Do I have a first, a motion? Anybody? Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I have some discussion. I'm certainly in favor of the intent of this policy. The only thing about it, I would say that there should be some wording in the policy that for positions that we don't approve prior to the person being hired, that we only do that provided that the board must have approved the filling of the position ahead of time. And maybe that's something, and maybe I'm not understanding the process quite right, but I would think that we need to have that.
Before we can post a position, it has to be a board-approved position, so that's. Yeah. 100%, yeah.
Is that stated somewhere that's the part, that's policy that we have to?
That is, I believe, a board policy. I mean, it's a common practice. I mean, it's like, I could just create a position and post it, and then you never know about it. It's never going to happen. I mean, so, like, all positions that are posted are approved by the board. And these are for positions that we're requesting this leverage around are positions lower than director level. So anything above a director level would be.
Do we have any positions that we're approving this year? Was that in the personnel area? I don't.
Not
I didn't
under
see
this,
any.
not under this policy.
I mean, Gabe is nodding. There were some in there? One new position that we're approving, that we
Yeah.
approved?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I don't, if then, in that case, I don't think there's any wording change that I would suggest to the policy. It's fine as it is.
Call for the roll, please.
McCaig?
Yes.
Trent? Ware?
Yes.
Campbell? Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Next up is the 2024-2025 college holiday calendar.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2024-2025 college holiday calendar?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
discussion? Call for the roll, please.
McCaig?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Ware?
Yes.
Campbell? Wertz?
Yes,
Rust?
Yes.
Trent?
motion approved.
Next is the 2024-2025 academic calendar.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2024-25 academic calendar?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Call for the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Campbell? Wertz?
Yes, motion approved.
Next is the student academic fees for academic year 2024-2025.
Do I have a motion to approve the student academic fees? Second,
Second.
any discussion?
Just a quick question. As I was looking through that, I had the impression that none of that is tuition. We're not adjusting tuition, right?
No, this is just fees
Just
associated
fees,
with
okay.
those.
Call for the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
motion approved.
Next is Resolution 24-1, tax levy pursuant to 110 ILCS 8053-14.3.
Do you have a motion to approve the special tax levy? Discussion?
Have some discussion. I passed out a schedule showing how our funds have behaved over the last 5 years. I just want to talk about that a bit. 5 years ago, our education fund was about 11 million. Now it's up to 20 million. Now, what that means is we have enough money in reserve to almost satisfy a full year's education obligation. In other words, if we didn't get any money from the state or federal or tuition money, we would be able to keep, the college would just be able to continue to run. So we have, the suggestion is that we should have about six months, not 11 or 12 months of reserves in the education fund. That's my understanding. The second thing is that in the operations and maintenance fund, 5 years ago it was $5,890,000, about $6 million. Now it's over 12 million. So it has doubled in 5 years. In the operation and maintenance fund restricted has gone from I'm sorry, I misspoke myself a little bit. The increase on the operation maintenance fund was 6 million. It did double, but it went from about 6,119,000 up to 12 million, so it doubled. Now, in a restricted fund for operations and maintenance, the increase is about 2 million. We went from 13.7 million up to 16 million, and I have accounted for I just deducted from the actual balance is $29 million, but I deducted 13 million to account for the fact that we're obligated to pay our share of the main complex project. My point of all this is that we are, I would call it flush with funds. We do not need to burden our taxpayers with a tax increase. We didn't do it last year. We don't need to do it this year.
I'll go ahead and respond. So I think everything you said is absolutely true. We're flush, but we're flush because of circumstances. We hope those circumstances don't happen again. I mean, we had COVID, which allowed us to collect additional revenues, lost revenue. We also made a lot of changes the last 3 or so years in terms of organizational structure changes, operational changes that have helped us build a surplus that we've always felt strategically as a leadership group would help us advance the institution by addressing deferred maintenance, which, by the way, is a sustained need that's never going to go away. We're at about 10+ million right now that we'd like to address. Technology needs are never going to stop. I mean, as you heard from Ron, there's 146 projects. All of those projects cost money, take resources. I'm of the philosophy that because this is such a minimal amount, we're talking about $8.33 per $70,000 valuation of a home per taxpayer. To me, no tax increase is insignificant, but this is minimal in the context of operating an institution that's dynamic. I would also argue that we don't know what's going to happen 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road in terms of getting guaranteed funding from the state. We've seen this happen in the past where we needed to come up with money. So I'd rather have some money in the bank, sir. I hope the board agrees. We are having to dip into some of those funds this year to address significant priorities that we have in our budget process, which include investing in academics, investing in student success, but more so, we really want to focus these dollars this year on deferred maintenance, and then, of course, complement that with some additional investment in technology. So, and then have a little bit of money on a rainy day. If we do all of that with this additional tax, we'll be probably pretty close to that 6-month to 8-month reserve, which is right where we need to be. So I think we're doing this the right way.
Were you not listening? The reserve is almost a year. It's almost 12 months.
By using the money that we're still going to have to use, even with taking this tax, we'll be at about 6 months.
No, I don't think you're figuring it right.
Okay, well, well, those are my perspectives, and I rest my comments.
I think your perspective is distorted. Our taxpayers don't need even a minimal tax increase right now, and we don't need the money. Let's leave it in the taxpayer's pocket. If, for example, we would have something really happen, I guess we could do a bond issue. The state of Illinois allows it.
Well, we have almost $100 million in debt, and we're trying to reduce that debt, and we have paid off 2 bonds, which it's minimal, but to your point, minimal is minimal. That will lower taxes a little bit because we paid those bonds off. Over the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to continue to pay those bonds off, which will in effect impact the taxpayer in a positive way.
I don't think it's structured. I don't think the payment structure is such that the tax rate will actually go down. It wasn't set up that way.
Kevin?
You talked about the maintenance project. We got all the deferred maintenance. You gave us a schedule of deferred maintenance. The deferred maintenance is about almost 10 million. So it's 9,359,000. We have 3 times as much money for that we need. We have like $27 million in reserve for those projects. I think we need to get some of these projects, quit deferring the projects and get them done.
Kevin, you mentioned that you thought your understanding was that 6 months was an appropriate target. What is that based on? Where is your reference point
I think
for that?
got that from, I think it was from the ICCB. I mean, they have
That's a recommended, and that's pretty common, anywhere from a year or 6 months to a year, year and a half, depending on the size of the organization. So, and again, this, I mean, related but not related, this kind of goes back to definitions. What do we define as a reasonable reserve for an institution with a $30+ million budget? And as dynamic as we are. And, the fact that we are, and dare I say this, but we're going to be starting a pretty dynamic main complex renovation projects, and dare I say this, but there may be overruns as well that we need to dip into those reserves around. The last thing I do want to do is ever have to come back to the board and say we need to take another bond issue because we don't have the funds or we didn't manage our funds strategically. I think it's perfectly okay to have a reserve, and when we use some of this reserve to basically take care of these deferred maintenance, we're going to have maybe 13 or 14 million, which is about half. So that is in line with your philosophy on that, although I think we should have more, but that's my opinion.
And, and the thing that I didn't include is that Mary's projecting a surplus in the education fund of over $3 million. Now, I know these are preliminary numbers, but that's what she's telling us, $3 million. Is going to be added to the education fund reserve. So, I mean, if you want to say that it doesn't amount to anything, let's just go ahead and go ahead and tax our people. Why don't we make a symbolic effort, symbolic gesture, and say, no, we're not going to tax you. We don't need the money, so we're not going to tax you. We're not going to increase your taxes.
The board didn't approve this last year, but the year before that they did, and it did help us. It
You
was
didn't
focused on
propose it
technology.
last year.
I wasn't allowed to propose it last year.
That's not true.
Oh.
Who kept you from proposing it? The chairman?
Yes, sir. The chairman controlled the agenda. I was not allowed to put it on the agenda.
Well, that was the first time that he ever controlled the agenda that I know of.
Really?
Oh, that chairman.
It wasn't me.
Yeah. That's news to me, but I'm glad that she didn't
Does
allow it.
anybody else have any comments? I think Kevin's had his turn.
Well, I agree. I think this is a situation where we as trustees need to take a macro view of our community. It's easy, everybody here would love to have more money to work with, and I understand their concerns, and you want to do what's best for the organization by, having as much funds as you can. But I think sometimes we just have to step back and say, the community deserves a tax break. And the beauty of this particular levy is that we vote on it every year. So we'll address it again next year. But I think the situation our community is in with high inflation, and there's been no wage growth, and we do have a surplus. And I think that we could utilize that surplus and not raise taxes on our community and give them a break. That's my opinion.
Call for the roll, please.
McCaig?
Yes.
Trent? Yes. Campbell? Yes. Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Rust?
No.
Ware?
Yes. Next is the organization restructure, digital transformation, investment in chief data and technology officer role.
Do I have a motion to approve the organizational restructure? Motion. Second?
Second.
Discussion? Call for the roll, please.
McCaig?
Yes.
Campbell? Yes. Ware?
Yes.
Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Trent?
Next is the settlement and intergovernmental agreement with Olin Winchester LLC.
Do I have a motion to approve the settlement with agreement with Olin? Motion. Second? Second. Discussion? Call for the roll, please.
McCaig?
Yes.
Trent? Yes. Campbell? Yes. Wertz?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rust?
Yes.
Ware?
Yes. All right, time for informational items.
As tradition, if there are any questions on any of those, let us know. But I know Lori is going to talk a little bit about the recognition report, kind of listing out those names. But of course, if there's any other detail you require on the other items, just let us know.
I mean, we only have 4 pages. You guys don't mind if I stand and read it, right?
No.
Kidding. As you can see on page 312 to 316, we have some pretty outstanding team members. And we had not had a recognition report for a few months because we hadn't been receiving some of those. And so I did put a call out. And as you can see, we have plenty to celebrate this month. So I just want to highlight individually by name and everything from assisting our team members with vehicle issues on campus. I know some of our campus safety individuals are here tonight installing new software programs that are required across an entire program in an entire building, creating connections with our community partners, spending weekend time getting items that support our students, mentoring students, doing more than one job on campus, helping make community events extra special, working on building repairs, and simply just going above and beyond for our community students and visitors. So we just want to recognize this month those individuals, and I encourage you please to feel free to read. The stories are great, but Paul Kiebrick, Dave Zimmerman, Tim Farmer, Scott Moss, Mitzi McCarver-Tyson, Brad Raish, and Mickey Cibolo from our Campus Safety Department, Kelsey Minetti and Todd George, who are contractual campus safety officers, Melanie Reith, Dr. Sue Serwinski, Amy Monroe, Cody Zipman and Corey Zipman, Matt Clark, Debbie Edelman, Ethan Brash, Mary Jo Flaherty, and Denise Irwin, who are computer support specialists, Dallas Rule, Mark Hellrung, and Jen Mandeville, who you heard from earlier this evening. But of course, we just want to take the time to recognize our outstanding team members whose coworkers took the time to recognize them. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
I agree, there are some excellent stories in there, so thank you for sharing with us. Next is the leadership team reports.
So I'll provide my president's report. So just really quick, I want to thank Brian, Jill, who couldn't be here today, Jen Fuller, myself traveled to the Association of Community College Trustee Conference a couple weeks ago and presented what we call the Agility Agenda, kind of talked a little bit about the journey of CBE at Lewis and Clark. Very well received. We plan to go back next year with a 2.0. It was a really good presentation. Lots of interest in the concept. Today, several of us on campus participated in a special session that was for financial aid and competency-based. You know, as we continue to evolve these models across the country, and what we found out today is there's a lot that are just beginning to think about it, but how does financial aid factor into this? So myself, Sue Serwinski, Jen Fuller, Angela Weaver, there were a number of team members interested in this as we continue to navigate developing this subscription pay model and evolve our own model as well. So I just want to thank everyone for their continued engagement. I think we have 33 faculty to date that are engaged at some level in developing or beginning to conceptualize programs or conceptualizing pathways of CB in their programs. A couple other things. So next week we have our leadership team meeting, and we're going to have, which I think a few of the board members know, Doug Meyer is going to present on AI to the group. And then in November, we're going to have Ann, I think it's Ann Mills, I mentioned it in my update to you, who's going to do a forum for the full campus, and I'll invite community members, similar to what we did with Mr. Levine last year around competency-based ed. So we're really interested, there's been a lot of interest on campus from a academic perspective and operations perspective as it relates to AI, so we're gonna get some additional insights into that. We are having a discussion on our culture survey. This is the survey that we started doing last year as part of Key Direction 3, so we're going to just take a quick look at the survey, making sure that, you know, we may want to make a few tweaks to it, not question tweaks, but just the scope of it to try to make it a little more focused, and then we'll measure those results this year against last year's benchmarks. And as we did last year, I'll share that full report with the board, present to the board, and then we'll also have a presentation to our full campus team as well. I'm continuing to engage in alumni, and so I think I mentioned it in my report, but we had a really nice gift from Mary Williams, so I'm going back out to San Diego to finalize that with her, as well as meet with a few other alum who have an interest in supporting Lewis and Clark. And then in a couple of weekends, we'll be in Atlanta with some team members engaging our alumni there as well. In November, I'll be on a panel with Pam Lau, who's the president of Parkland, and we're going to talk about competency-based ed and manufacturing as it relates to both of our colleges. That piggybacks our Illinois Community College Trustee Association and President Council meetings as well. So a little bit of travel still coming up, but I just want to again thank the team for the great work that's happening on campus, for us staying, on target with our expenses, spending money wisely, and of course, keeping an eye on our budget is what I meant to say. But just thank the board again tonight for your support. I know some of these things are difficult, so we appreciate your confidence. Whether you voted yes or no, we appreciate your advocacy for L&C. Thank you.
If there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned.